Victoria Sinclair had everything money could buy, except the one thing that mattered most. The ice-cold billionaire had driven away every person who ever tried to get close, building walls so high even she couldn't see over them anymore. But when Marcus Steele walked into her life, everything she thought she knew about power, pride, and protection was about to shatter. He was just supposed to be her driver, silent, invisible, replaceable. What Victoria didn't know was that this quiet, dignified man would see straight through her billion-dollar facade and force her to confront the most terrifying truth of all. That beneath her cruelty lay a heart so starved for love, she'd rather destroy it than risk having it broken again. Some walls are meant to fall, some hearts are meant to heal, even when the cost is everything you thought you were. If you're watching this journey of redemption and unexpected love, hit subscribe. And tell me where in the world you're watching from. The crystal chandelier caught the morning light as it swayed above the marble entryway. Victoria Sinclair stood at the tall windows of her estate, watching another driver speed down her circular driveway. He didn't even stop to collect his final paycheck. He just left. "That's the fourth one this month," said Renata, Victoria's aunt, stepping into the foyer, her heels clicking against the polished floor. "Victoria, dear, you simply must what?" Victoria turned, her green eyes sharp. "Pretend these people are competent when they're not." Renata sighed. She'd been dealing with Victoria's moods for years. "They're not incompetent, sweetheart. They're afraid of you." Victoria laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. Fear keeps people honest. Fear keeps people away." Renata picked up her purse. "I'm meeting Julian for lunch about the Ashford contract. You need a driver by tomorrow or you'll be late for the board meeting." The door closed with a soft thud, leaving Victoria alone in the vast house. She sat behind the mahogany desk that had belonged to her father. Leather-bound books, expensive art, everything in its place, just like her life. She picked up her phone and called the agency. "Mrs. Delgado, it's Victoria Sinclair. I need another driver." "No, I don't care about references. Just send someone who can show up on time and keep their mouth shut." Across town, Marcus Steele sat in his small apartment, staring at his phone. His friend Reggie had just called with a lead. A wealthy woman needed a driver. Good pay, but there was a catch. "Man, I'm telling you, she's impossible," Reggie said. "My cousin lasted 2 days, said she made him feel like dirt." Marcus rubbed his temples. His savings were running low, and his daughter's college fund wasn't going to fill itself. What exactly did she do? Nothing you could sue her for. She's smart about it. Just makes you feel small, like you don't matter. Marcus knew that feeling. 8 years as a long-haul trucker before his divorce. His ex-wife said he was never home, never present. Maybe she was right, but the road made sense when nothing else did. "I need the work, Reggie. I know you do. But this woman, Victoria Sinclair, she's cold as ice and twice as sharp." "You sure?" Marcus looked around his small, clean apartment. Thrift store furniture, a photo of his 8-year-old daughter, Amara, on the coffee table. She was spending the summer with her mom in Atlanta, and he missed her every day. "Yeah, I'm sure." The next afternoon, Marcus drove his old Honda to the address Reggie had given him. Tall iron gates. 5 acres of manicured grounds. He'd seen places like this before, but never from the inside. He pressed the buzzer. "Yes?" The voice was crisp, businesslike. "Marcus Steele. I'm here about the driver position." The gate opened without another word. Victoria stood at the front door in a black suit, blonde hair pulled into a tight bun. Beautiful the way expensive things are beautiful. Polished, untouchable, perfect. Her eyes swept over him. "You're early." "Yes, ma'am. I believe in being punctual." She didn't invite him in. She walked toward the garage, and he followed at a respectful distance. "Have you driven for private clients before?" "No, ma'am, but I've been driving professionally for 8 years. Clean record." She opened the garage, revealing a black Mercedes worth more than he'd made in the past 2 years. "This car is worth more than most people's houses. One scratch, one coffee stain, one mistake, and you're gone. No second chances." "Understood. I don't make small talk. I don't want to know about your family or your problems. I want to get from point A to point B, safely, on time. Nothing more. That sounds fair." She studied his face, looking for fear or the eager-to-please softness she could push around. Marcus kept his expression calm. "The job pays well, better than you'll find anywhere else, but you'll earn every penny. I'm not afraid of hard work." Something flickered in her eyes, gone as fast as it came. "Be here tomorrow at 7. I leave at 7:30 sharp. Late once, don't bother coming back." She turned to go, then stopped. "Mr. Steele, "Why do you want this job?" He could have given her a dozen easy answers. Instead, he told her the truth. "Because I'm good at what I do, and I take pride in doing it right." She stared at him a long moment, then walked inside without another word. That evening, Marcus called his daughter. Amara's voice was bright with stories about swimming lessons and new friends. Her mom had remarried, a banker with a big house and a pool. "Daddy, when can I come visit?" "Soon, baby girl. Real soon." After he hung up, Marcus thought about Victoria Sinclair. He'd handled difficult people before. Angry customers, demanding bosses. The key was simple: don't take it personally. But something bothered him. Not her coldness. He could handle that. It was the look in her eyes when she asked why he wanted the job. For just a second, she'd seemed almost lonely. He shook his head. Not his problem. He needed this job, and he was going to do it well. The next morning, Marcus arrived at 6:45, his car spotless, his clothes pressed. Victoria urged at exactly 7:30, briefcase in hand, phone already in the other. "Good morning, Mr. Steele." "Good morning, Miss Sinclair." The drive downtown took 30 minutes in traffic. Victoria spent it on calls, sharp and efficient, discussing contracts worth millions. Marcus listened without meaning to. No wonder she was wound so tight. "I'll be back at 5, she said, stepping out at the Harrington Tower. "I'll be here." She didn't look back. At 5 sharp she emerged, looking tired, a tightness around her eyes that hadn't been there that morning. "Home," she said. The ride back was quiet. Marcus caught her staring out the window, her face unreadable. When they reached the estate she paused before going in. "You were right where you said you'd be?" "Yes, ma'am. Most people aren't." She went inside, and Marcus drove home wondering what had happened to make her so sure people would let her down. The days that followed fell into a pattern. Victoria was punctual, professional, completely closed off. Never a please, never a thank you. But Marcus noticed things: the too tight grip on her briefcase, the skipped lunches, the circles under her eyes. On Friday, stuck in traffic, her phone rang. He couldn't help but hear. "No, Julian, the numbers are wrong. I don't care what Ashford thinks. We stick to our terms or we walk." Her voice was steady, but underneath it, Marcus caught something else: doubt. When she hung up, she let out a small sigh, the first truly human sound he'd heard her make. "Long week?" he asked, breaking his own rule. She looked up, startled. "Excuse me?" "Nothing. Ma'am, sorry." She stared at the back of his head for a long moment, then looked away. That weekend, Marcus took Amara to the zoo. Or tried to. His car broke down on the highway, leaving them stranded for 3 hours. "It's okay, Daddy," she said. "We can go next time." He felt like he'd swallowed glass. He was supposed to take care of her, not the other way around. Monday morning, running on no sleep and a hefty tow bill, he showed up on time anyway. Victoria noticed. "You look tired, Mr. Steele." "I'm fine, ma'am." "Are you sure you're capable of driving safely?" There it was. The assumption that one hard weekend meant he couldn't be trusted. His jaw tightened. "I said I'm fine. I need to know my safety isn't compromised by whatever's going on in your personal life." Marcus pulled the car to the curb and turned to face her. "Miss Sinclair, with respect, my personal life is my business. I've been on time every day. I've driven safely every day. If you're not satisfied with my work, fire me. But don't question my professionalism because of how I look." They stared at each other. He half expected to be thrown out of the job on the spot. Instead, something in her face softened. "You're right," she said quietly. "That was unprofessional of me." Marcus blinked. Had Victoria Sinclair just apologized? Neither spoke the rest of the drive. But something had shifted. "Mr. Steele?" she said as she stepped out at her building. "Yes, ma'am. I hope your weekend gets better." She walked away before he could answer. The following Tuesday brought the first real test. Victoria slid into the back seat and said nothing, frowning at her phone. "Harrington Tower?" Marcus asked. "No. Change of plans, Riverside District. The old warehouses." It wasn't dangerous, but it wasn't a place for $1,000 suits either. When they pulled up to a converted warehouse with a hand-painted sign, Steele Community Center, Victoria looked up, confused. "This isn't right." Marcus's heart skipped. "Ma'am, I said Riverside, but I meant—" "Wait." She looked at the building, then at him. "Steele, is this—" "My brother runs this place. It's a coincidence." Kids were already arriving for summer day camp. A little girl with pigtails waved at Marcus through the window. He waved back, smiling for the first time all week. "You know her? That's Talia. She's in my daughter's group when Amara visits. My brother Elijah started this place 3 years ago. Gives kids somewhere safe when school's out. Victoria watched the children disappear inside. Your daughter comes here. We should go. You'll be late. I'm never late. But she didn't tell him to drive. She opened her door. Wait here. Marcus watched, stunned, as Victoria walked toward the center, moving less sure of herself than he'd ever seen. A young woman met her at the door. Moments later, Elijah appeared. Bigger than Marcus, same steady presence, an easier smile. I'm Elijah. You're looking for me? Victoria struggled for words. Your program. What do you need most? Elijah glanced at the car, then back. Are you a reporter? No. I'm someone who might be able to help. For 10 minutes she listened. No funding for supplies. Broken air conditioning. A waiting list of kids they couldn't take. Back in the car, she was quiet a long time. Harrington Tower, she finally said. Marcus wanted to ask what that had been about. He didn't. She'd drawn her own lines just as clearly as he'd drawn his. That afternoon, in traffic again, she didn't make a single call. She just looked out the window. Mr. Steele, your brother seems like a good man. He is. And your daughter? How old is she? He hesitated. 8. Her name's Amara. Does she live with you, with her mother, in Atlanta? I get summers and holidays. Victoria nodded. And for a moment, he thought she'd ask more. Instead, she went back to the window. The next morning brought rain and an unwelcome passenger. Julian Cross climbed in beside Victoria, trailing cologne and casual arrogance. Morning, Victoria. Ready to make Ashford beg for our terms? Sharp suit, perfect teeth, the confidence of a man who never wondered where his next meal was coming from. Good morning, Julian. Her voice snapped back to its cool register. Mr. Steele, Ashford Group Building. As Marcus pulled into traffic, Julian launched into strategy, filling the car with his voice. The key is making them think they need us more than we need them, which, between us, they do. He laughed at his own joke. That's the beauty of money, Victoria. People dance to whatever tune you play. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. Of course, you've got to know how to handle the little people too. Secretaries, security, drivers. A little charm goes a long way with that crowd. Julian, Victoria said quietly. What? Treat them right, and they'll move mountains for you. Isn't that right, driver? Marcus met his eyes in the mirror. Julian was smiling, but something ugly sat underneath it. I'm sorry, sir. What was the question? No question. Just making conversation. You probably don't get much of that in this line of work. Julian, please. An edge crept into Victoria's voice. What? I'm being friendly. You could learn something from that, Victoria. Sometimes you're so cold I'm surprised this car doesn't ice over. They rode the rest of the way in silence, tension radiating off her. At the Ashford building, Julian got out first, barely acknowledging Marcus. Victoria paused at the open door. Mr. Steele, I'll call when we're finished. Yes, ma'am. She started to walk away, then turned back. I apologize for Mr. Cross's comments. No need, ma'am. I've heard worse. She looked like she wanted to say more, but Julian called her name, and she hurried to catch up. 3 hours later she called, sounding tired and frustrated. We're done here. Change of plans. Take me to Riverside. The community center. This time she didn't hesitate. She walked in like she belonged there. 20 minutes later she returned with a smile that transformed her whole face. They're getting new air conditioning. Art supplies. Funding for 10 more kids. You did that? I made some calls. She looked almost embarrassed. Your brother didn't make it easy. He wanted to know where the money was coming from, whether there were strings attached. He's very protective of those children. That sounds like him. He reminds me of you, actually. Same way of looking at people, like you're seeing something the rest of us miss. They drove in comfortable silence. Finally, Mr. Steele, may I ask you something? This morning, when Julian said what he said, why didn't you respond? Because it wasn't worth it. Men like Mr. Cross, they want a reaction. Best thing you can do is show them their words don't matter. She was quiet so long he wondered if he'd overstepped. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. I should have said something. It's not your job to fight my battles, Miss Sinclair. Yes, it is. When someone disrespects you in my car, on my time, it's absolutely my job. That evening, she called Julian. Marcus was loading groceries when his own phone rang. Mr. Steele, are you available for an early dinner pickup tomorrow? 7 o'clock, Chez Lorraine. It's a business dinner, but it won't run late. The next evening, Victoria waited by the car in a black dress, looking less intimidating than usual, maybe because of the way she smiled when she saw him. You look very nice. She seemed surprised. Thank you. At the restaurant, Julian waited on the sidewalk, smile just as oily. Victoria, darling, you look stunning. His hand landed on her lower back as they walked in. Marcus's jaw clenched. None of his business. 2 hours later, she called for pickup. Alone. Julian nowhere in sight. Where's Mr. Cross? Gone. We had a disagreement. Her voice was calm, but her shoulders were tight. As they drove, she said suddenly, I told Julian that if he ever disrespected you, or anyone who works for me, again, our business relationship ends. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He said things tonight that showed me exactly what kind of person he is, what kind of person I've been tolerating. At a red light, Marcus turned to look at her. What did he say? Her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Things I won't repeat. But he made it clear he sees people like you as less than human, and assumed I felt the same. Do you? The question hung between them. I did, once. I thought money and position made me better than other people. I thought keeping everyone at a distance would protect me from being hurt. She paused. Now I realized the only person I was protecting myself from was myself. The light turned green. Something fundamental had shifted. For the first time, Marcus felt like he was seeing the real woman underneath. Mr. Steele, would you mind if I asked you something personal? Your ex-wife, do you miss her? I miss the idea of what we could have been. I don't miss walking on eggshells, feeling like I wasn't enough. Is that why you divorced? She said I was never present, even when I was home. Said I was more comfortable with strangers on the road than my own family. Were you running from something? The question landed deeper than he expected. Maybe. Or running towards something I never found. They pulled into her driveway. Neither moved. I was married once too, she said quietly. He turned, surprised. The first personal thing she'd shared unprompted. What happened? I scared him away. Just like I scare everyone away. He said living with me was like living with a beautiful glacier. Lovely to look at. Deadly to touch. Why do you do it? Because it's easier than risking real connection. If you don't let people close, they can't hurt you. They can't help you either. She looked at him with something like gratitude. No, they can't. She got out, then turned back. Mr. Steele, thank you. For what? Showing me that not everyone leaves when things get difficult. Driving home, Marcus thought about her words. He'd been running too, from marriage, from commitment, from the risk of failing the people he loved. But, sitting in that car tonight, talking to her like she was a real person instead of just his employer, he'd felt something he hadn't felt in years. Like he was exactly where he belonged. The following weeks felt almost like friendship. Victoria kept her professional distance, but the edges softened. Please and thank you now. Questions about his weekend. Real smiles. One Thursday, her phone rang in traffic. Her face went pale. Hello, Renata. Panic leaked through even from the front seat. Slow down. What's wrong? She listened, closed her eyes. How bad is it? More frantic talking. No, don't call an ambulance. I'm coming. Where are you? She hung up, leaned forward. Mr. Steele, change of plans. Mercy General. My aunt fell. She's conscious but hurt, of course. He smoothly changed lanes. Anything I can do? Just drive fast, safely. They made it in 15 minutes. Victoria was out of the car before it fully stopped. Marcus parked and waited. An hour. 2. Finally his phone rang. Mr. Steele, could you come inside? I know it's not part of your job, but I'll be right there. He found her in the waiting room, smaller than he'd ever seen her, composure cracked by real fear. How is she? Broken hip. Prepping for surgery. Her voice shook. She's all I have. My parents died when I was 15. Renata raised me. She's the only... Her breath caught, tears threatening. She's going to be okay. Hip surgery's routine now. She'll be dancing again in no time. A sound, half laugh, half sob. Renata doesn't dance. Says it's undignified. Then she'll be walking around with dignity in no time. Her laugh, this time, was real. Thank you for being here. I know you don't have to. Yes, I do. She looked at him, questioning. That's what people do for each other. When someone we care about is hurting, we show up. The words hung between them, honest and dangerous. Someone we care about. I should call the office, she said finally. Cancel my afternoon. Already done. I called your assistant. Told her family emergency. She's rescheduled everything. You did that for me? It's what anyone would do. No, Victoria said quietly. It's what you would do. They sat together for 3 more hours. He brought terrible vending machine coffee. She made her calls. They talked quietly about family, about how hospitals make everyone feel small. When the surgeon emerged with good news, she sagged with relief. Full recovery expected. Can I see her? Room 314. At the door, she turned back. Will you come with me? She'd like to meet you properly. Renata was groggy but sharp-eyed, even hooked to monitors. So you're the famous Mr. Steele, she said, slightly slurred. Victoria talks about you, Renata, Victoria warned, flushing. What? I'm just saying you mention him a lot. Renata smiled at Marcus. She says you're different from the others. Different how? You don't act like you're afraid of her. Her eyes moved to Victoria. People are usually afraid of her. She works very hard at being scary, Renata. It's true, dear. You build walls like other people build sandcastles. But Mr. Steele here seems to have found a door. Marcus saw Victoria's face go carefully blank, old defenses rising. Oh, don't do that. Don't shut down just because I said something true. Renata took her hand. Sweetheart, you've been alone too long. It's not good for anyone to be alone that much. Victoria squeezed her aunt's hand but said nothing. I should let you rest, she said finally. I'll come back tomorrow. Bring Mr. Steele again. I like him. Walking back to the car, the easy warmth had evaporated, replaced by familiar tension. You don't have to listen to her, Victoria said. She says whatever comes into her head on pain medication. She seems pretty lucid to me. She stopped walking. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that she doesn't seem impaired. She doesn't know what she's talking about. About me being alone, or building walls, or any of it. Marcus studied her face. The vulnerability from the waiting room was gone, replaced by the cool mask he'd thought was disappearing for good. If you say so. They drove home in silence. At the estate, she got out without waiting for him to open her door. I won't need you tomorrow. I'll be at the hospital most of the day. Would you like me to drive you? No. I'll take my own car. He watched her walk away, shoulders rigid with the effort of holding herself together. The next morning, his phone rang early. Her voice was tightly controlled. Mr. Steele, I need to inform you your services will no longer be required. He sat up, wide awake. Excuse me? Your employment is terminated. Effective immediately. 2 weeks severance. Someone will deliver your final check. Victoria, what's going on, Miss Sinclair? She corrected sharply. This is a business call. Please keep it professional. Fine, Miss Sinclair. What did I do wrong? Nothing. I simply no longer require a driver. He knew she was lying. This is about what Renata said yesterday. This conversation is over, Mr. Steele. You're scared. I'm not scared of anything. You're scared because someone saw through your act. Because for a few weeks you actually felt like you weren't alone. You don't know what you're talking about. But he heard the tremor now. The crack in the armor. I know what it's like to run when things get real. I know what it's like to choose loneliness, because it's safer than connection. This conversation is over. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, then got dressed and drove to her estate anyway. The gate was locked. He pressed the buzzer. Miss Sinclair, it's Marcus. We need to talk. No answer. I know you're there. I can see your car. Still nothing. He waited 2 hours, then gave up. That afternoon, a courier delivered the severance check. No note, just money to make him disappear quietly. Marcus called the agency that evening. Mrs. Delgado, it's Marcus Steele. I need it on record. Victoria Sinclair didn't fire me for cause. There was a personal disagreement, but my performance was satisfactory. Mr. Steele, I appreciate the call, but I should tell you. Miss Sinclair contacted us this afternoon. She's decided she doesn't need a driver after all. Says she'll be driving herself. After he hung up, Marcus sat with what he was feeling. Anger, disappointment, and underneath, something newer and more painful. He missed her. Not the job, not the paycheck. Victoria, the real woman he'd glimpsed in moments of vulnerability. The one who funded a community center without expecting anything back. The one who apologized when she was wrong. For the first time in years, he'd felt like he was getting to know someone whose walls matched his own. And now, she was gone. 3 days later, Elijah called. Marcus, man, you need to get down here. Something's wrong with your lady friend. She's not my anything. Elijah, what are you talking about? The woman who set up the funding. Victoria, she's been coming by every day, just sitting in her car across the street, doesn't get out, doesn't talk to anyone, just watches the kids play. Marcus's chest tightened. How long? Since Wednesday. What happened between you two? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. Well, figure it out because whatever it was, it's eating her alive. She looks like she hasn't slept in days. That evening, Marcus drove to Riverside. Sure enough, Victoria's black Mercedes sat across from the community center. Through tinted glass, he could see her silhouette. He parked behind her, walked to the passenger door, unlocked. Mind if I join you? He slid in beside her, She didn't look at him, eyes fixed on the kids playing basketball in the fading light. You shouldn't be here, neither should you. They sat in silence, watching. She looked terrible. Dark circles, hair undone, composure gone. How's Renata? Better. Physical therapy's helping. She'll be home next week. That's good. More silence. One kid landed a shot from half court, and the others cheered. I used to play basketball, Victoria said suddenly. He looked at her, surprised. Really? High school. Before my parents died. I was good, fast, competitive. I liked being part of a team. What position? Point guard. Small but quick. I could see the whole court, you know. I could see what everyone needed before they knew they needed it. He could picture it. Victoria in her element, directing plays. It fit. Why did you stop? Her face crumpled slightly. After the accident, Renata thought it was too risky. So I quit and took up tennis instead. Safer. Not as fun. No, not as fun. They watched a few more minutes. Finally she turned to him. I'm sorry, she said, for firing you the way I did. You didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. I was scared. Renata was right. You found a door, and I couldn't handle that. Why? She was quiet so long he thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Because the last time someone got close enough to really see me, they left anyway. And I can't go through that again, Marcus understood. The fear wasn't just about being vulnerable. It was about being vulnerable and still not being enough. So you left me first. Yes. That doesn't solve anything, Victoria. It just means you're alone again. I know. Tears ran down her face now. But I don't know how to do anything else. I don't know how to let someone stay. He reached over, took her hand. Cold, trembling. You start by asking them to. What if they say no? What if they say yes? The question hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they could cross. She squeezed his hand, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked genuinely hopeful. Marcus, will you stay? He brought her hand to his lips. I thought you'd never ask. The next morning, Marcus arrived at 7:30 as if nothing had happened. Victoria waited by the car, more rested than she'd looked in days. Seeing him, her face broke into a full smile. Good morning, Mr. Steele. Good morning, Miss Sinclair. He opened her door with a slight bow. Where to today? The hospital first. Then, she paused, settling in. Then, I thought we might drive somewhere we've never been. Any particular direction? Surprise me. At the hospital, Renata sat up in bed, much stronger. Her eyes lit at the sight of Marcus behind Victoria. Well, well, look who came back. Hello, Miss Renata. You're looking much better. I feel much better. And please, call me Renata. She looked between them, satisfied. I take it you two worked out your little spat, Renata, Victoria warned, smiling despite herself. What? I'm old and injured. I can say whatever I want. Renata winked at Marcus. So, are your intentions toward my niece honorable? Marcus met Victoria's eyes across the bed. I think that's between me and your niece. Renata clapped. Perfect answer. I like this one. Don't scare him away, Victoria. Leaving the hospital, Victoria shook her head ruefully. I'm so sorry about her. No filter. Don't apologize. I like her honesty. It's refreshing, even when it's embarrassing. Especially then. She laughed. You say that now. Wait until she starts planning our wedding. The words slipped out. Her face went bright red, horrified at her own presumption. Marcus stopped walking. Our wedding? I didn't. I mean, I wasn't suggesting, because if we're talking about weddings, I should probably ask you on an actual date first. She blinked. A date? Dinner. Conversation. Getting to know each other outside a car or a hospital room. But, I'm your employer. Actually, you fired me, remember? So, right now, I'm just a guy asking a woman he cares about to dinner. Her smile spread slow across her whole face. I'd like that very much. Good. Tonight? Tonight. I mean, I have things to do, but they're not important. Just ways to fill time. She caught herself rambling. Tonight would be perfect. That evening, Marcus picked her up in his old Honda. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, looking younger, more real. He took her to a small family diner in his neighborhood. Mismatched tables, fresh bread every morning. She looked around uncertainly at the cracked vinyl booths. The food's incredible, he assured her. And Lena, the owner, makes the best tres leches in the city. I haven't eaten at a place like this, ever. What do you think? She looked at the families sharing meals, the teenagers on first dates, the elderly couple who'd clearly been coming for decades. Her face softened. I think it feels like home. They talked for hours, real conversation this time. She told him about her childhood, the loneliness that shaped her, the empire she'd built as a fortress. He told her about his marriage, his mistakes, his daughter, the best part of his life, about the peace he'd found on the road. I spent so many years running, he said, from responsibility, commitment, anything too real. Then I met you. For the first time I wanted to stop running, even though you tried to push me away, especially then, because I recognized the fear in you, the same fear I'd been carrying for years. She took his hand across the table. I don't want to be afraid anymore, me neither. They were the last customers to leave. Lena herself came to check on them, beaming at their joined hands. Young love is beautiful thing. Walking back to the car, Victoria was quiet. Marcus, what happens now? What do you want to happen? I want to try, really be with you, but I don't know how to be in a relationship with someone who actually sees me. He stopped, turned to face her. We figure it out together. One day at a time. What if I mess it up? Push you away again? Then we work through it. That's what people who care about each other do. Is it really that simple? The simple things are usually the hardest. He cupped her face. But yes, we choose each other every day. Even when it's difficult. She stood on her toes and kissed him, soft, tentative, a question asked and answered without words. I choose you, she whispered. I choose you too. 6 months later, Marcus moved into Victoria's estate, not as her employee, but her partner. They took it slowly, learning the strange territory of real intimacy. Victoria struggled sometimes with old impulses to control and retreat into cold formality, but instead of giving up, Marcus sat with her until she was ready to talk. Marcus battled his own demons too, the urge to run when things got comfortable, the voice that whispered he wasn't good enough for someone like her. Victoria was patient with his fears, just as he was with hers. They went to couples counseling, something that would have horrified the old Victoria. They learned to fight fair, to trust the love was strong enough to weather disagreements. Renata recovered fully and moved into the guest house, appointing herself unofficial guardian of the relationship. Embarrassing stories and unsolicited advice included. Amara visited for Christmas. Victoria was terrified. She'd never spent real time around children, but Amara was as generous with affection as her father, and within hours had Victoria making friendship bracelets. I like her, Daddy, Amara whispered on Christmas morning, watching Victoria wrestle a toy kitchen into submission. She tries really hard to make me happy. She tries really hard to make everyone happy, Marcus said. The community center became a family project. Victoria secured ongoing funding. Renata organized volunteers. Marcus coached the kids' basketball team. Elijah teased his brother mercilessly about marrying up, but his gratitude was real. One spring evening, driving home from their favorite restaurant, Victoria asked Marcus to take the long way. Any reason? I want to really look at the city. I spent so many years moving through it without seeing it. They drove slowly past parks with picnicking families, storefronts where teenagers laughed, houses full of messy, ordinary, beautiful lives. It's different when you're not afraid, Victoria said softly. What is? Everything? The world is different when you're not afraid of it. He squeezed her hand. No, the world's the same. You're different. She smiled. We're different. Yeah, we are. 2 years later, they married in Renata's garden. A small ceremony. Family, close friends. Elijah officiated, stumbling slightly over the formal language. Amara served as flower girl, deadly serious about her duties. Renata cried through the entire service, blaming allergies. In December, Victoria wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers from the meadow. Marcus wore the same suit from his job interview, the one that had made her notice his quiet dignity that first day. In their vows, Victoria spoke of learning to let love in. Marcus spoke of finding home in another person. They promised to choose each other daily, to be brave enough to stay when staying felt risky. After the ceremony, they stole a few quiet moments alone on the terrace. Any regrets? Marcus asked, adjusting her veil. Only that it took us so long to get here. We got here exactly when we were supposed to. She looked out at their guests. Renata teaching Amara an inappropriate drinking song. Elijah charming the caterer. She thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago. Cold. Isolated, convinced loneliness was safer than love. I used to think needing someone made you weak, she said. Now I think needing someone makes you human. Marcus kissed her forehead. Mrs. Steele, she repeated, savoring it. I like the way that sounds. Good. You're stuck with it. She laughed, bright and free. I can think of worse fates. As the sun set golden over the garden, Victoria felt something she'd never experienced, perfect contentment. Not the hollow satisfaction of acquisition, but the deep peace of being fully known and completely loved. She looked at her husband and marveled at the journey that brought them here. A woman afraid to feel, a man afraid to stay, both learning that love isn't about being perfect, it's about being brave enough to be imperfect together. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked, noticing her expression. "How grateful I am that you took a job you probably didn't want, with a woman who definitely didn't deserve you." "You deserved love, Victoria. Everyone does. You just had to learn how to accept it and trust it." "Yeah, I did." They stood together in the gathering dusk, hand in hand, watching their loved ones celebrate. Tomorrow would bring the ordinary challenges of marriage: miscommunication, mundane disagreements, busy schedules. But tonight, they were exactly where they belonged. "Ready to go inside?" Marcus asked as the air cooled. "In a minute." She squeezed his hand. "I just want to remember this moment, when everything felt possible. Everything is possible. We proved that." She smiled and let him lead her toward the house, toward their guests, toward their life together. She no longer feared the future, because she wasn't facing it alone. She had chosen love over safety, connection over control, trust over fear. And love, as it turned out, had chosen her back. Renata raised her champagne glass. A toast to Victoria and Marcus, who prove it's never too late to let someone past your walls, and to a love strong enough to heal even the most stubborn hearts. "To love," everyone echoed. Victoria looked around at the faces surrounding her, family by birth and by choice, connected not by obligation but by genuine affection. This was what she'd been missing all those years in her perfect empty house. Not just a partner, a community. Not just love. Belonging. "To love," she whispered, clinking her glass against his. And, as the stars appeared overhead, Victoria Steele knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be.